Now I'm going to show you the quality of life data. This is the child behavior checklist scores for the child, family quality of life scores, and parenting stress index. This is baseline, initial training, maintenance support, and follow-up. Mother and father, you can see, and we did 2 measures here. I'll talk about that in a minute. A C means a clinical range, a B means borderline clinical range, and N means normative range. And you can see in terms of an overall score of behavioral issues throughout the day, week, month, etc. for the child, the mother and father both gave her a very high score, clinical range. Then during initial training, it fell, but still was in the clinical range. But during maintenance support, both parents put the child within the normative range of problem behavior. And during follow-up, which was done, I believe, 1 year later, this measure here, the mother put her back into the borderline range, but the father still had her solidly in the normative range. In terms of family quality of life, the rating goes up to 5, and so they both had a fairly high rating of their quality of life. A 3.28 means a reasonably good quality of life. But you can see this interesting. In initial training, this is good data for the policymakers in BC. This lower score occurred because in the week that they took the measure, their child turned 6, and they didn't quite remember, and then they found out, because they received the information, that the funding for their child would drop from $22,000 a year to $6,000 a year. And it was quite crushing to them psychologically. And we didn't know that. We just did the measure at the time we were scheduled to do it. We asked them, the score was low. Could you tell us what happened? Because we want to be able to do better. And they explained to us that, oh my goodness gracious, now we only have $6,000 a year. What are we going to do? And then we said, okay, we talked it through. We came back a month later when they were able to resolve that. And you could see it came back up to their previous level. So there wasn't much improvement over baseline, but at least they returned to their baseline levels after that, a bit of a shock. Is that clear to everyone? And then during maintenance support, you can see their quality of life scores were very high. Once you at a 4 or higher, it means you have a very high quality of life from your point of view, 4 out of 5. And in follow-up, the mother was still around 4, which is good, and the father leaped to 5. He basically said his quality of life is very, very high because he can't go better than 5 on the scoring sheet. So that was good to know. And then in terms of parenting stress, it was very high. They were in the 99th percentile, which means they had more stress than 99% of families who are raising typically developing kids. You can see it got better for the by the mother in initial training, but not for the father, but still it's very high. And then by the maintenance sort, it started to go down. The mother was at 90%, still in the clinical range. The father went into the borderline range. And at the end, in follow-up, they were both much lower than they started, both within the borderline range of stress. So there were quality of life improvements. In terms of treatment integrity, the parents were superb at implementing the plan. And I should add, so was the older brother, because the older brother had responsibility for implementing positive behavior support strategies during the play routine. He was the big brother in the classic meaning of that term, being responsible, being thoughtful, being respectful, being nurturing as an older brother. And he did a beautiful job. And so the average across mother, father, and son were 83.5% in terms of accuracy, which is a very nice level. In terms of contextual fit, both of the parents gave the study a very high rating, 4.6 or 4.8 out of 5. 2 quotes, "Our main goal was for Mia to sit and eat dinner. Now she does that. So our priority was met." That's the mother. And this is honey to the ears of any interventionist, so you should write this down and work really hard that a parent would say this to you. We will use all of the strategies for the rest of our life. Right? That's what we should aim for, right? That type of work. And again, it wasn't me who did it. It was Katherine Schrader. So I'm speaking of Katherine Schrader's work. She did brilliant work. Now, they also reported collateral effects. Collateral effects in research mean positive effects that were unexpected. There were generalizations to other meals and routines. The family began to inform us that she's eating breakfast now with the family in different foods. She's eating lunch now. She's eating at school for the first time. They're visiting friends, and she's eating and going to restaurants, and she's eating what's served. She's eating more and more she's eating more and more fruit and actually beginning to like it, not just endure it. Also, there was generalization of cooperative play. The children were now playing cooperatively all through the day, and there weren't fights. They learned how to play together. They learned this very sophisticated scientific strategy for when they don't agree and someone has to have a choice. It's called rock, paper, scissors. Very sophisticated. You can read about it in the journals. You know, go to your favorite journal. You'll find studies. And they were very good at that. And they would conform to whoever won. Generalization of PBS strategies to non-related routines. We saw a spread of effect across all contexts as reported by the parents. For example, they were able to place their daughter in a regular summer camp with typically developing children, and she was just fine. There was no issues. She just participated beautifully, and no one quite knew that she had a disability. They were able to go down to Disneyland and have fun, instead of what happened last time, have stress, strain, stress, such that we never want to do this again. She was fine. She behaved very well. They were able to rejoin their church, because when they were in their church before, this Chinese Christian church, people weren't happy that this girl was screaming in the back of the room. So they stopped going. And now they're back in their own congregation, and everybody is delighted that they've returned, and they are delighted as well.